be successful, be great at it, but just remember to be humble.
It is the path less traveled, or not traveled at all. Like, you literally forged your own way.
When I eventually got back to work, she was 4 months old. That's when I really started enjoying motherhood.
My next guest on Empowered with Gina is Miss Margherita Giubilei. Not only is she a powerhouse lawyer at Alder Law, she is from Italy, has an incredibly inspiring story with how she got here and how she proudly represents her culture, her family, and being a lawyer. I'm excited to connect with her and share her story with you for so much inspiration and motivation. Join me. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Empowered with Gina podcast. So I have a power baddie sitting across the table from me who this woman is, when I got to talking to her and learning a little bit more about her background, I was like, okay, people need to know about you and your family and everything you come from. So everyone, please meet Alder Law lawyer and a lawyer supreme and incredible woman, Margherita Giubilei.
Oh, thank you so much, Gina.
Welcome. How do I say welcome in Italian?
Benvenuta.
Benvenuta.
See? You
Buongiorno.
got it already.
She's Italian, FYI.
Yes.
Okay, Margherita, 3 adjectives to describe yourself.
Oh, I would say driven, empathetic, definitely empathetic, and resilient.
Okay, where did you grow up?
So I was born and raised in Italy. Lived my whole life there up until I was 19, 20 years old.
What part?
I'm from a town called Cesena.
Where's that?
It's like in the northeast of Italy, very close to Bologna. Okay. It's like an hour away from Bologna.
Okay.
And it's just a perfect little Italian town, so safe. You can walk anywhere.
Wow.
Even as a child, I would just walk anywhere, go to school by myself, and just extremely safe. Everyone. I grew up. I had I was living the Italian dream growing up, meaning I was surrounded by relatives, good food, and a lot of good friends, and so I was really, really lucky in that sense because, the way I grew up was very authentic, very real and genuine. And I think that really gave me a foundation. Like who I am today is a lot because of, the way I grew up. And so I'm very thankful for that.
So I remember when we were talking once, you were talking about how you grew up and about your parents. And you were just so casual talking about their accomplishments.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, they did this, that, the other. And my eyes just kept getting bigger. I'm like, this is not a casual conversation. So tell me a little bit about your parents, just so people know exactly what you grew up around.
Absolutely. Yeah. So both my parents are doctors. My dad is now retired, but he was a thoracic surgeon. And then my mom is a pediatrician, and she's still working. And so I grew up around that, right? And I feel like that's one of the main reasons why I ended up doing personal injury, because it was just a natural connection. Like I didn't want to go to med school. My parents would never push me into that. And they just, they let me just take my own path, and they were great in that. I mean, they're really great professionals, but one thing I can say about them, they're really, really humble. And so they always taught me how important it is, be successful, be great at it, but just remember to be humble. I remember my dad would always tell me in Italian, ricordati di essere umile, which means, remember to be humble.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then sports was big in your family. Talk about that part.
Yes. So both my parents also played sports. My dad played soccer. He was a goalkeeper. And my mom was a basketball player, a professional basketball player. And so...
Professional.
Yes. She also played professional. At some point, she had to stop because, she became a doctor and it was just, hard to manage the two.
And had children.
Yeah, exactly. But and it's funny because my mom didn't want me to play basketball because she loved sports so much that she really wanted me to be successful in sports. And she knew that basketball wasn't as big in Italy. And so she was like, oh, why don't you play tennis? How about volleyball? You're tall, you know, you can be good at volleyball. And I was like, and I remember growing up, you know, just like looking at all the newspapers with my mom, photos, like pictures. And I would be like, no, Mom, I just want to play basketball. And so, yeah, I started playing basketball. I was actually the only little girl. Like they were all like boys because basketball wasn't as big. And then I got really lucky, like growing up, a team very close to my hometown had like a Serie A, which is like the first league, you know, like team in like the first division in Italy. They had like a very good women's team. And so eventually they wanted me to go play there. And so I got very lucky in that sense because I was able to play at a good level.
Okay, so at what age were you when you, I mean, for people that don't know sports, what does good level mean? Because I remember you went through like high school, college, and you were sharing the story with me.
Yes.
Like basketball was very, very important and a big...
Yes, absolutely. So I started when I was really young. I was, I think, 6 years old. And then this team in Italy really wanted, it was like 30 minutes away from my hometown. And so I started, you know, training and playing games with like older players because in Italy it's different. You don't play for the school. You play for, you know, different like teams outside of the school. And so you can play. I remember at some point I was 15 and I was playing with 30 years old players.
Wow.
I know. And so it's a very different system. And then I went on, and when I moved to Bologna to go to law school there, then I also continued to play basketball there as well. And then at some point, that's actually how I got to the U.S. because, you know, I've always dreamed of playing basketball in the U.S. You know, I was a Lakers fan growing up, even though I'd never been to L.A., but I was, you know, I was a big Kobe fan, and so my dream was just to move here and be able to to play here, and you know that's how I ended up here.
So being a lawyer wasn't the goal. The goal was to be a successful professional basketball player.
Well, honestly, like I always loved basketball, and my dream was to play here in college, but I never dreamed of becoming a basketball player. So I always dreamed of, you know, having a professional career outside of basketball.
Got it.
But that was also like like for me to get here. Like I knew that if I could get a scholarship, I knew that was my like ticket to the US. Like I was like, how do I get there? You know, it's hard. I didn't have any family here. It's not easy to come here or get a visa to be here. And so I was like brainstorming, and I was like, oh, maybe I should use basketball as a way to get there. And obviously, you know, that was also one of my dreams, to play here at a collegiate level. So that was...
So that's how you got to the U.S.?
Yes.
A basketball scholarship?
Exactly. And I remember, and this was almost 10 years ago. And so back then I remember that I was looking all over, like desperately trying to find like a company in Italy that could help me find a scholarship, an agent, someone. But it was just I couldn't find anyone that could help me because it was a little bit rare back then. Now it's more common, but back then it was hard to find Italian players that would come here to play in college. And so I just started like emailing. I remember Googling school and just emailing my highlights, my videos, and say, hey, you know, my dream is to come there. Like, I'm looking for a scholarship. And I sent like, I don't even know, hundreds of emails.
Really?
And then eventually a few schools reached out, and then they offered scholarships. And then I picked the one that I preferred, you know, in terms of like what I wanted to study. And
had you been scared or like, they're not going to pick me, they're not going to answer the email? Had you even like thought like that?
Honestly, no, because I knew what I wanted, and I was like, I'm going to make it happen. And I remember like even following up with coaches, hey, you know, I sent you, and my English was so bad. I recently got access to one of my emails that I was using, and I'm like cringing looking at my own emails. I'm like, oh my
gosh,
like,
no,
so bad. But and so it's funny because it was just like 10 years ago, not a long time ago, but it was so bad.
Yeah,
like almost
It's pretty incredible. It's remarkable what you've done. So then you get to the U.S. Where do you go to school when you're here?
So I went to school in Delaware. It's called Goldie Beacom College. I picked that school because it was NCAA Division II, and then they had a program in criminal justice, and so I was really interested in that. And then also because of the location, like being in Delaware, I was 30 minutes away from Philadelphia, 2 hours from New York, and so all my games were like in New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey. It was in Washington D.C. It was very, very fun, and that allowed me to really travel all over the East Coast.
That's fabulous. So then you finished college, and then what?
So I finished college. Keep in mind that when I was in college, I was also in law school in Italy, because in Italy we go to law school right after high school. And so, my path is a little bit particular.
Yeah.
So, law school in Italy is 5 years.
Okay.
And you start...
so there's no college per se?
There's no college, yeah. It's basically law school and college all in one.
Got it, okay.
And so, when I moved here, I was in my third year of law school in Italy.
So you're going to U.S. college while going to this combo college law school in Italy at the same time while playing basketball?
Yeah, but I kind of froze my... law school career there, just because I had to take that's why when I moved here for basketball, I couldn't go to law school, because at that point I was still an undergrad, because that's what you're considered studying in Italy. And so I remember coming here and I was talking to my school advisor, and he was like, well, if you want a bachelor's degree, it's going to be 4 years, but I only had 2 years of eligibility to play basketball. And they were like, well, you can play those 2 years, and then the remaining 2 years, you're just going to be a student. And I was like, no, I just, I have to keep going. I have to go to law school here then in the U.S. It's like I can't be, for 4 more years in school here. And so eventually I was able to graduate in 2 years with my bachelor's. And then I moved back home, and then in 1 more year, I was able to graduate law school. Because at that point...
Unbelievable.
My goal was to come back here and become a lawyer here.
Right.
So I was, doing everything I could to speed up the process. And
so then you finish college here, you go back, finish law school there, and then how do you get back to the U.S.?
So actually, it's funny. When I graduated college in Delaware, I remember my parents came to my graduation and they were like, oh, so do you want a graduation gift? What do you want? And I was like, well, my dream is to move to California, like randomly, because I didn't know anybody here. But I just, growing up watching movies, that's where you dream.
Hollywood.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, if you really want to give me something, I would love, like, if you can get me, a hotel or a room in LA for 2 weeks. I'm going to go there. If I find a job, great, I'll stay. If not, I'll come back home. And so I remember I found on Facebook this room in, it was close to Koreatown. I didn't even know anything about LA at that point.
Okay.
And I found this room. I told my parents, I found a room. I'm going to go there for 2 weeks. And then worst case scenario.
By yourself?
Yeah, by myself.
And you don't know anyone here?
I didn't know anybody here, no.
But you were just like, this is fine. I'm going to do this.
Yeah. I was so motivated. And I just started emailing law firms, like anything I could do to find an internship, because at that point I wasn't a lawyer in Italy, I wasn't a lawyer here, but I was in law school there, and I knew I wanted to practice law here. And so, I landed in LA, and this is funny because, again, I was in Koreatown, and I was like brainstorming, like where would law firms be? And I was like, well, maybe in downtown. And so I was Googling, and I remember I took an Uber to a Staples in South LA, because I didn't know anything about LA. Gosh. And I started printing out my resume. And with the resume, I took another Uber, went to downtown LA, and just started walking up to law firms that I would find on Google Maps. And just,
I love this. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
this is what it takes. That is what it takes.
I know. And today, when I tell this story, I think it's funny. But, like, looking back, I'm like, wow. Like,
so significant.
Yeah.
People don't just do that.
I know. But it got me here, and that's why I don't take, like, one day, I don't ever take this for granted, because I know what it took me to get here. And it's like,
holy moly. So you find a firm.
Yes, eventually I found an internship with the district attorney's office, but on the same day I got a call back from one of the firms that I sent my resume to, and they told me, so that was a PI firm here in LA. The owner was Italian like myself, and they had a lot of cases with Italian clients. I was like, this is perfect. And so I was really in between. I was like, what should I do? But then eventually I decided to go to start working for them. And that was really like
the Italian firm.
Yes, it was a great experience, because even when I moved back to Italy to finish law school, I was able to keep working like with American law.
Wow. So you made it work. You figured it out.
Yeah.
Because then you got hired by the Italian firm here in LA, but then you still had to go back and finish.
Yeah, I had 2 more years, and I was like, I'm not, at that point I was 3.5 years in. I was like, I need that degree. I'm not gonna just let it
of course
go. And so I moved back. I was working remotely for this firm here in LA, and I was studying for exams there, and finally I graduated. And then that's when at the same time I was applying for my master in law, like here in my LLM. And
so then you graduate law school finally in Italy, but then you come here still having this Italian job, and now you have to take the LLM program, which was how many years?
That's 1 year.
Okay.
Yes, and I took that at UCLA law. That was always my dream growing up.
Okay, so you're really smart, because you just don't get into UCLA law. So yes, you did. Okay.
Yeah, I was in between USC and UCLA. No, but I was really in between the two. But I don't know, just growing up, I remember growing up, my uncle, my Italian uncle, when he was younger, he came to visit LA, and he brought back like this UCLA t-shirt, and I just grew up.
Isn't that something?
I know. It's insane how those things like really make an impact, and you don't even think about it. But when I saw between the two, I was like, I know they're great. Both are great schools, and actually my scholarship at USC was higher than UCLA.
And they shared scholarship.
Yeah. And so I started negotiating between the two, and then eventually UCLA, gave me another really good scholarship, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna sign.
And then so in a year you're done with the UCLA LLM, and so you take the bar.
Yeah, and you have to take the bar. Yeah, that was very, very intense for me, especially English not being my first language.
That's right. Yeah. Obviously, you're not speaking English as a first language. Reading it, all the things.
Yeah, that was very hard. That was probably the hardest exam I've ever took in my life. Wow. It was just very hard, especially, the MBE, where you have to go through all those questions, and
it's so overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. I took it twice. I failed the first time.
I mean, of course, it's hard. It's not an easy journey.
It's terrible.
But
it's worth it.
I still have PTSD thinking about it.
But it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
So then now you're a lawyer. Mm-hmm. You're still at the Italian firm.
Actually, when I passed the bar exam, I was working for a different firm.
Okay,
so in between that time, I actually started working at a big insurance defense firm.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Which is so important, because we need to know how the other side thinks.
Yeah, I know. It was really
invaluable
key for me, and also to see the other side, because at that point I didn't really know. All I seen was the plaintiff side, and so going to the defense side was really. Because I was able to see the other side of the coin, and also understand what do I want to do? Do I want to be on this side or the other side? And that was the time where I understood no, I love working with people, for the people.
Yeah, of
and
course.
This is just who I am.
The right side of the law, I like to call it. It is. It's the right way to be. Mm-hmm. Okay, but then what we haven't mentioned is throughout all this professional life stuff, you also have a love life going on with Eric, who we just love. Eric, your husband.
Yes.
This is the most amazing story. Can you, in a very short, truncated way, share with everyone what that long distance situation was?
Yeah. So Eric is half American, half Swedish, and he grew up in America, but he would go back, to Sweden to see his other side of the family every summer. And he played D1 basketball here in the U.S. And then eventually he went on playing pro in professional basketball in Europe. And he played for 10 years in Italy. And so that's how we kind of really got to know each other, just because I followed men's basketball in Italy. It's a very small world, and I knew who he was. And then it was just very random. Like, I moved to California, and then I didn't know, like, I was living in LA, and I didn't know that he would spend these off seasons in LA because his best friend is from Pasadena. And so I remember we were following each other on social media, and he saw that I was in LA, and he was like, hey, I'm here too. We should meet up for like a date or something. And that's how we started dating. We started dating here. And so, and then
I just can't. Like, it's remarkable. It really is. And so you guys dated back and forth, long distance for how many years?
Many years. From 2018, and he retired from professional basketball 2 years ago. So it was like 3-4 years of like long distance. But what's funny is at some point he got a job, like he started playing for a team that was 30 minutes away from my hometown. And so he would just, I would be here like in law school studying, and he was back in Italy with my family, for lunch, dinner, and my parents don't speak any English. So imagine.
Wow.
So that was funny.
And so you guys get married, and now we have our beautiful baby, Olympia.
Yes.
She is something else. And so your mom, because that's a very important part too. I personally don't lead with, oh, I'm a mom. I never say that first.
Yeah.
I know a lot of women do, and I'm like, I think we probably need to re-examine that.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%. And that was one of the, like, I was scared. Like, when I got Olympia, and then obviously I don't have any family here, and I was, like, terrified. I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to go back to work? Like, I need to find a nanny, and she's so little. And so I was terrified. And then I was also scared that I was not going to be able to be the same professional that I was before her.
Becoming a mom.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm going to have less time. She needs all this attention. And so, but the funny part is that when I eventually got back to work, she was 4 months old. That's when I really started enjoying motherhood, because I found again my purpose. And I, like, the way I work was even more intentional, more, just because at this point my purpose was bigger. It wasn't just my career, but it was like setting up an example for her, providing for her.
It's so good.
And
I know exactly what you mean. And we're going to explore that after this podcast. We're going to do like a 5-10 minute exclusive just for the Empowered with Gina members. And we're going to talk specifically about that journey, because I know it's so personal, and it's so important for women to see that, yes, you actually can be more fulfilled as a professional.
Absolutely.
And it makes you a better mom. But we're going to talk about that next. So, okay, so now, fast forward, you are a lawyer at Alder Law.
I am.
And your first trial's coming up.
It is, and I'm so excited. I mean, I've always dreamed of becoming a trial lawyer, but in reality, that's hard. A lot of firms don't even do trials. Right. And so, and again, the way I ended up here is also extreme. Like, I knew it was meant to be. I actually interviewed for a position here as a paralegal. 2 days before the bar exam results came out.
Oh my God. No, I didn't know this.
Yes. And so I remember interviewing with Sam, and then, and she asked me, she was like, oh, are you interested in taking the bar? I was like, yeah, I already took it. I'm just waiting for results. And she was like, oh, that's too bad. We're looking for a paralegal. And so 2 days after I passed the bar, and I didn't even
call her back. Guess what?
No, I didn't even call back because I knew you guys were looking for a paralegal. Oh. And so I was like, now I kind of want an attorney job. After all this year of being a law clerk, paralegal, I want an attorney job. And so eventually, I think Jennifer reached out, and she was like, we really liked you. We want you as an attorney if you're still looking. And so I was like, okay, this is meant to be. And I was so mad, like, when I knew that you guys didn't have an attorney position. I was like, oh, that's too bad. Because I really love,
absolutely,
the place, the people that I met. And so, that's how I started. So this is actually my first official attorney job. Like, I've been here for 2 years almost. And
Incredible. Well, I'm really excited. And I know everyone at the firm, they love working with you, and you're so smart, and you're so, obviously your story is super motivating. And I'm really grateful that you took the time to highlight it, because it is the path less traveled, or not traveled at all. Like, you literally forged your own way, and you still very much are. That's like your terms. And it's so inspiring. And I'm around so many women, and I hear the feedback constantly. And I feel like women, not women only, but people, humans, are their own obstacles. Like, it's here. I'm not going to send that email. I'm not going to travel. Like the fact that you seem to have a family that supported you just going off to another country.
Yeah.
Like, what was that like, the parent support? Were they ever like, no, I don't think that's a good idea?
Yeah, never. They always push me to do, to follow my dreams. I mean, my dad also worked in Canada for a long time. For 10 years, he was working back and forth between Italy and Canada. My mom is also, she was born and grew up in Venezuela, so she came from a...
There's that part too.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. So I come from a family, they're very open-minded in that, like, you can still be a family, you can still be close even if we're far away.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that part, especially culturally, a lot of cultures, of many, are like, you can't leave the family. You have to stay close to take care of the family, to help the family.
Yeah.
But your family defined it as, we can be on different parts of the planet, and we're still very much a cohesive, loving family.
I mean, to this day, they're still, obviously they're sad, we're not. And my whole family is there. I have so many relatives, and my brother is there. Like, everyone is there. So I have more reasons to be there than I have, to be here. But they're just so happy, and so, like, they're... we just bought our first house, and like for them, that was just like the best thing that could ever happen. They were so excited. It wasn't like, why do you want to buy a house there? Because that's like something like a big milestone for us, meaning like, okay, now we're permanently here. Like buying a house is a big thing. It's not like, we're here and then we'll see in the future. But they were so supportive of that. Like they were so happy, and it's so important to have that, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to be here. I wouldn't have that support.
Absolutely. And that, again, that's why I'm highlighting it, because so many people are held back, if not by themselves, the family guilt and obligation. Yeah. I can't leave. My parents are getting older.
Right.
I can't leave. They need help. I can't. I'm selfish if I go.
Exactly.
So we're going to talk about that and motherhood in the next segment right after this.
Yeah.
Exclusive for Empowered with Gina members, so stay tuned. But anyways, I'm going to wrap up this part right now. I'm so appreciative of you, and I'd love to have you back after your trials, just to talk about what's that journey like. Like, you are a justice warrior, right? And so it's so important to highlight that. So we'll have you back.
Thank you so much, Gina. Absolutely. And thank you for having me here.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Access this exclusive content by becoming an Empowered with Gina member today.